So now I'm going to explain and show you how we change the UV bulb in the ultraviolet steriliser. So the ultraviolet steriliser here allows all the water to pass through it, and the UV light inside the tube zaps the water and denates the bacteria, so stops bacterial growth and things around the system. It's not an essential part of a shellfish holding system, but from my point of view, I think it's very, very important, and I would be without one on a shellfish system. So every now and then, every year, we recommend that you change the bulb. So to do that in this system here, you need to switch off the main pump and the UV steriliser itself. So I've just switched off these two switches here, and that switched this off. That allows me to open up the chamber here to get the UV bulb out. So to do it on this style of system here, we slide that little lock up the way, and then we turn the head of the UV a few degrees, 45 degrees or something like that, and then just push up gently and it comes away on mooring. That then brings out the ultraviolet tube. What happens with these things, there's two things that can happen that affects the efficiency. One is the ultraviolet tube ages and produces less efficient light. And the other thing is you get muck collecting on the quartz sleeve. So there's an outer quartz sleeve here. So this, clean all the muck off, you see the muck that collects on that. Sometimes these things can get that mucky that it actually affects the transmission of the light through it. So to then remove this quartz sleeve, we need to remove this quartz sleeve to get into the UV bulb which is inside here. So to do that, there's a little grub screw here. So we undo the little grub screw. Put that to the side, make sure we don't lose it. And then we remove this. Now I have a little tool here. You don't need that tool, but it just makes it a little bit easier. Unscrew, backing up here. And take that off. Then gently we hold this firmly here, and then gently sort of like in a rocking motion there, pull that up and out, and that removes the quartz sleeve. So that's a quartz glass is optically pure, so that it doesn't affect the wavelength of light coming through the UV tube. So there's a little spacer there to that to the side, and another little spacer here. So then we remove the UV bulb and change it for a new one. So there are different brands of bulb, and the main thing is that they are the correct wattage. This is a 36 watt, and you have the correct number of pins at one end. So this is a 4-pin bulb. So you can see in here where these line up. Push that in. Now when we're doing this, try not to put too many sticky finger marks on the glass. Put that out of the way. And then I put this spacer back on. This piece here that keeps the bulb pressed down, and then put this back on, push it on, and then turn this all the way back on. Now, we turn this on firmly, but not too tight. We don't want to over tighten it, and ideally we'd like to get it to a point where the little grub screw lines up with the hole there for the screw. Back in. Okay. That doesn't need to be too tight, it's just to stop this slackening off. And then we can give this another bit of a clean here. If there's a lot of muck on the quartz sleeve, or if there's any kind of condensation or mess or any kind of sort of white sulfates forming on the inside, then you can take that away to the sink and give it a proper clean. But make sure it's dry when you put it back on. The other thing I'll point out here is if I was to try and switch this back on now to see if the bulb is working, it wouldn't come on because there is a safety feature here. Inside here there is a little magnet, which actually the magnet's in here, which lines up with a little magnetic switch on the inside of this head here. On the older style UVs, there was a little lug that stuck up there, and that lined up with a little switch, so that needs to be back in the unit in order to operate. So the reason for that is ultraviolet light is bad for your eyesight, very dangerous, very high energy, and we wouldn't want anybody to look at the light. So in order for it to operate, it needs to be back in the unit here. So if, when you're doing the likes of that, the quartz sleeve is damaged, and you're like, oh, things are broke, I've dropped the quartz sleeve, got an issue here because I don't have a new one, I need to get my system running again. This is why we've got these three valves here. We can actually bypass this unit if there is an issue with this unit or you don't want to run it. By closing these two valves and opening this valve, it means that the water goes straight up, bypasses the UV, and you can operate the Lobster Pod without the ultraviolet steriliser working, which means that you can order a new quartz sleeve or whatever parts you need to without worrying about the UV steriliser. But for normal operation, we would have these valves turned in this position so that the water comes up through the ultraviolet steriliser. So I can now switch this back on. That's the pump back on, and then the UV light back on. And that's it.